Hello, 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 everybody. I am Jmulls of Jmulls Gaming, and I want to talk about gacha games today. One of the most polarized genres in all of gaming. One that really got its beginnings and its mega growth in the mobile scene, and has now trickled into the rest of, say, a more hardcore, dedicated gaming crowd. PC, console, etc. And I've made it no secret on this channel that I don't like the monetization style of gacha games. However, if the game is good enough, then I'm more than willing to play the game and even potentially love it. For instance, one of my favorite games of all time, arguably my third favorite game of all time, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, is a single-player game with gacha elements inside of it. Now, they aren't monetized, but there is a gacha system within that game, and I still love the game a lot, but I don't like the gacha. But I tend to find myself dedicating more and more of my time playing these games, and it was always a sticking point for me, because I don't like not being able to articulate why I like a certain thing. And with gacha, it was just kind of, yeah, I like it. I like the incremental progression, but it always felt to me that there was more to it that I just couldn't verbalize. And I think I've got my finger on the pulse of it here. At least with me, when it comes to gacha games, I am extremely picky. And there's only ever been 4 gacha games that I've dedicated a significant chunk of time to, 3 of which I still play, 1 of which I don't. The one that I don't play anymore is Genshin Impact. Though if you look in the history of this channel, you will see quite a few videos from my time with that game. I enjoyed it extensively. However, over time I just fell out of love with it and its overall direction. I enjoyed the combat and they just didn't really focus on it. But the 3 that I still play to this day are Honkai Star Rail, Wuthering Waves, and now recently Zenless Zone Zero, a game that didn't initially grab me, but is now kind of cemented its place for me in essentially my big 3. But why do I enjoy these games? Let's get into it. 1, the old reliable, the incremental progression, and I think the reason I like incremental progression, always having something that I can work to, that I have this account that I make better and stronger over time, alongside frequent updates that contain quite a bit of content. I think the reason I like that idea so much is because a lot of my history with video games comes from MMORPGs. I started when I was a kid with RuneScape. I then transitioned into World of Warcraft in middle school, and then when I got to college, I moved on over to Final Fantasy XIV. And I had brief stints in Star Wars The Old Republic or Guild Wars 2 here and there. But the funny thing is, when I played MMORPGs outside of a few occasions, I was largely a solo player. Again, I just liked having a game that was always updated, and I could work on making my account better, whether that came from collecting new, mounts and pets, leveling up new characters, completing quest lines, learning the story and all that. I liked having this singular experience where I could see the sum total of my investment. But I always tend to prefer playing games solo most of the time, because I don't want to have to fit my schedule around the schedules of other people when it comes to things like rating a high-end content. And I kind of get exactly that out of these 3 gacha games that I'm playing right now. Over time, because I play free-to-play, so they're great value for me. I get a lot of game, I level up my account, it's noticeable improvement over time, I get varied content with the events, so I get this sense of incremental progression. I have these long-term goals I'm able to set out for myself, whether it comes from completing certain storylines, catching up with the crowd, which is my main goal with Zenless Zone Zero right now, because I'm behind, or targeting specific characters for me to try and collect for my account, so I can then play with them. Because for Honkai Star Rail, I enjoy that turn-based combat. Is it the most complicated thing in the world? Is it particularly difficult? No, my account in that game is extremely good, and I don't really struggle with anything nowadays. But I find the combat fun and engaging, because for me, a game doesn't need to be hard. I'll enjoy a really hard game, but for me, you have to nail the gameplay. And if you can nail the gameplay, whether the game is easy or hard, so long as your game is congruent with being fun with that level of difficulty, I'm set. Honkai Star Rail gives me a nice bit of turn-based combat every now and then, in a style that I enjoy, that's unique to me. I haven't really played a game that plays like Honkai Star Rail before. When it comes to Wuthering Waves, It's more action combat, it's real-time focused, with a more heavy emphasis on gameplay and difficulty. Tends to have a darker, more mature atmosphere and tone to it, and I enjoy those elements of that game. And when it comes to Zenless Zone Zero, it's very cartoony, over the top. People say the vibe of the game is Persona 5, and yeah, I would also agree, but for more broad generality, I would argue that it feels like an urban skate, like a skater-esque theme to it. And while the game is also real-time combat, I find the game to be faster paced, but also more simple and easier than Wuthering Waves. So I get different flavors of combat that I also enjoy from each of these games in different ways, with enough similarities that I like between all of these games to feel familiar to me. But on top of that, the content cadence really works out for me, because I like nowadays playing a bunch of different games. I cover a lot of games for this channel, I still play games like Final Fantasy XIV every now and then, and I've been enjoying playing games like Persona 3 Reload, Black Myth Wukong, Baldur's Gate 3, I'm gonna be diving into Monster Hunter soon. I like playing all these different games, and one of the biggest advantages that I've come to really appreciate with these gacha games that I've been playing is that I have the option at any time to take what I want out of them. What I mean by this is, if I feel like playing these games and devoting a lot of my free time to them, I can do that. However, if I want to step away for a bit and focus my time primarily on other games, like I did when Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail came out, I am also able to do that. Because the way these games kind of work is they'll release a bunch of content all at once, and then for like a month and a half or so, really, if you want to take the game like this, you can log on for like maybe 5 minutes at a time. My PC's powerful enough, so sometimes I'll have 2 of these games going on at once, do my daily grind, which takes a couple of minutes a day, if that, and I can skip a few days if I want to. Do what I need, back out, I'm good for the day, I can go play whatever else I want. And when I feel like devoting a lot of time and energy into these games, I can do that. It's this funny little situation I found myself in, where these games fit the kind of gamer that I am nowadays kind of perfectly. They provide me an overall experience that I enjoy, that I get constant investment out of, but I never feel particularly hamstrung to only play these games nowadays. And because I play these games single player, I'm not bound by anyone else's schedule, which is really helpful for me. It doesn't mean these games are without fault for me. A lot of the time, I tend to find the storytelling to be kind of bland and basic, and filled with exposition that gets repeated ad nauseum. Though funnily enough, I have less of an issue with that in Zenless Zone Zero, because that game tends to take a more stylized, comic book approach to storytelling, and I appreciate that element to it. But if it's a scene I just don't care about, I can just skip it most of the time and be on my way. Or if I want to stop and read it all, I can. And this next bit's not gonna sound particularly optimistic about the state of the games industry, but while, yeah, I can say I'm a fan or an advocate for gacha as a monetization model, it can be very expensive, egregiously so when you look at the price point to get a certain character, and it all being random chance most of the time. One, the games I tend to play tend to be rather generous with free rewards. I haven't spent a cent on any of these games, so they've been completely free to play for me. And also, when I look at the rest of gaming nowadays, especially when it concerns multiplayer, the monetization there makes gacha seem generous. It's not, don't get me wrong, but it's like, good God, gone are the days when I was growing up with games like Halo 3, Halo Reach, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 1. Nowadays, MMORPGs have in-game stores filled with various things that are monetized, on top of having a subscription that's monthly, or multiplayer games have you buying the entire progression system and then working towards it and grinding it out in-game, because apparently that makes sense to a lot of people nowadays, because it's been so normalized. If you can't tell, I'm not that big of a fan of battle passes, though funnily enough, these games also have battle passes, but it's one of those situations where the rest of the industry is kind of like trying to catch up in terms of how scummy the monetization can be, or at least how off-putting it can be, so gacha's no longer as egregious compared to the rest of the crowd as it used to be for me. And considering, for these games that I'm playing, how easy it is to be free to play, for me the pros drastically outweigh the cons. And at the end of the day, I simply enjoy these games. The gameplay is fun, it's fluid, it feels good to press your buttons. Zenless Zone Zero is really fast-paced, but also colorful and over the top. And when I'm playing games that can be really hard or dark and macabre a lot of the time, like Space Marine 2, like Black Myth Wukong, like Elden Ring, like Baldur's Gate. Having games that are far more upbeat and colorful and cartoony are rather nice. I like variety. I don't like only playing one specific kind of thing. And these games have plenty of variety within them. Events that mix up the gameplay loop. So while there's no one real element in terms of the gameplay or the storytelling that's like my favorite against all of the rest of gaming or anything, it does a lot of things really well that fit my current interests extremely well. And yeah, that's kind of why I play gacha games nowadays. Then the characters are just over the top and colorful and fun. And you know what? Sometimes I like that. I don't want to only eat like 5-course meals all the time. Sometimes I like my junk food. Sometimes I like my candy. I like my desserts. That's kind of the role gacha gaming fills for me. A lot of the times it can be dumb and mindless fun, but fun nonetheless. Over the top and colorful and filled with personality, with unique character designs and personalities and interactions that can be fun, alongside everything else I've said in this video. That's why I like gacha games. That's why I still play them. That's why I'm going to continue to play them for the foreseeable future. At least the ones I've talked about. Because there's been a bunch of other gacha games I've tried to get into that I just bounce off of and I can't get into them. For whatever reason. They may feel way too mobile gamey for me, which is not an appealing element. I play the PC versions of these games, or the gameplay may not be up to snuff for me. But yeah, with that, I'll call the video there for the day. Leave a comment down below, though, with what games you play, what you enjoy out of them, and what got you into them. I'd love to hear your thoughts, hear your opinions, and hear your perspectives. Stay safe, have a great day. Leave a like and subscribe. We're closing in on 10,000 subscribers, and I got a lot planned for streams on this YouTube channel. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe, have a great day. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again!